Many thanks there to Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and I think he speaks on behalf of his team as well. Harry Kane is such a big man for Tottenham Hotspur, but after the months of, for lack of a better word, unpleasantness, the things that we're reading in the papers, things that are reported coming out from his camp as well on him trying to push for that move outside of Tottenham Hotspur, this was the final outcome. Were you surprised by it, Martin Keown?
Well, no, because Daniel Levy obviously felt that he'd rather have the player than the money that was going to come in. Tottenham Hotspur has spent a vast amount of money on a new stadium, £1 billion to do that. They could have taken some of this cash, but they'd rather have the player. I think you have to commend that. I know the player made a really big push to leave, but he's scored 166 goals for Tottenham. His legacy will be there for everyone to see. I think he's an extremely good professional. And I think when you listen to Højbjerg, back in the Arsenal days, many times they would come calling for some of our big players. It'd be across the news. Players might have pushed to leave. And we were just grateful when the player remained. You just remain intelligent. You know Harry's going to be extremely professional. And he just invited back into the fold. And they've had an amazing start to the season, beating Spurs as they did, winning against Wolves. Again, perhaps they might not have done the number of chances Wolves had. So, and to bring Harry back to that, I think they're in really good shape. And again, with the local bragging rights, they're seeing the plight of Arsenal, and they're just going for it. New manager, and it's on a real wave here at the moment for Tottenham.
Martin O'Neill, I mean, considering Harry Kane's age, considering the spots available in the market at the moment in different clubs, was this his best and final chance for that big move away, or do you think it's still not over yet for Harry Kane?
You mean not over for him in terms of trying
making
to win trophies,
a big potential career move soon?
Yes, an interesting one, Monsieur. First of all, I think that this all seemed to stem from an interview that Harry Kane did pre-Euros with Gary Neville, walking down a golf course, and he was talking then about maybe wanting to try and get away. Mentioned about wanting to play maybe with De Bruyne, and things escalated from that. I thought it was bad timing, I must admit. And if I was Tottenham Hotspur or Daniel Levy, then I probably would have been thinking about digging my heels in. Martin mentioned again there that Daniel Levy can be, if you're dealing with him, a difficult enough customer, as he's proved, and he wanted him to stay at the football club, and so that's the case. Whether that's really what Harry Kane wanted, I'm not really sure. However, having said this, I think that there'll be no problem whatsoever with him settling down. I know that regardless of how number of years that any player stays at a football club, the minute that he thinks that he wants to leave a club, the supporters seem to get irate about it. Now, maybe the way it was handled wasn't so good. But I think that Harry Kane will come back now, and I think he'll be pretty strong. He's a strong player anyway, regardless of that there. And I don't think his chances. Maybe Tottenham can surprise people this season by going into the Champions League themselves. But Harry Kane had a taste of it. He got to the Champions League final, and I suppose perhaps maybe he thought that Manchester City was the way for him to win the sort of trophies that he's craved for.
Well, it's good news for Tottenham Hotspur from a footballing perspective. It's also good news for other rivals as well, because if he did go to Manchester City, I think everyone else can essentially shut up shop and end the season right here and just give it to Manchester City. But what about the fans, though? Because having spoken to a few Spurs Malaysia fans here in the country, there is a section where they felt they were betrayed. Again, bridges maybe not burned, but bridges were certainly damaged, Martin O'Neill. Do you think that relationship can ever be repaired?
Yes, I do. I think that's the case. We're living in strange enough times, yes. I'm talking about someone who has spent a long time at Tottenham Hotspur, and then for fans to feel that they're being betrayed by someone wanting to leave the football club. Again, Michelle, I think it's the way that it was handled as much as anything else, and lots of things flying around at the time. Harry Kane not turning up for training, then he disputing that there and saying that was not true. He had been given the sort of time. So things did escalate, and you knew that there was going to be some sort of ridiculous fallout from it all. I think things will calm down. I genuinely do think that there. And I think the majority of fans at Tottenham Hotspur will be delighted to see him back there, because he will give them a chance of maybe having the sort of season that they want.
Martin Keown then, I mean, do you think Manchester City should have done more? Should they have been more aggressive? Again, we do not actually know what was the valuation from Daniel Levy. We don't know how far away City's proposal was to that valuation, but they've now lost Harry Kane, and as we've just heard, we mentioned as well, they're not getting Cristiano Ronaldo. Yesterday's performance has shown City can operate without that elite striker. They did it for much of last season, they did it yesterday, but it's not exactly a very sustainable plan. Do you think Man City will regret not doing more to get Harry Kane?
No, I think Guardiola, he likes to buy what I call game controllers. You know, if you get the De Bruyne as Grealish is the sort of heir apparent for that, maybe to take over. Wonderful footballer, wants to control possession first, and they play with a fake 9 or false 9, whatever you want to call it. They nearly won a treble last year, or quadruple, so they're not too worried about not having a striker. I don't think it's ideal. I think Torres, though, I was at the game yesterday, his movement was exceptional, so they still have other options and they won't panic. It's not ideal. There's still talk Lewandowski might be somebody that could be available, so that could run and run. But they went all in to get Harry Kane, and Daniel Levy just wasn't allowing that to happen. And if you look today, Spurs can go top of the table. They can go onto 9 points. No one else can do that this weekend. So it just shows you that Nuno as well, you have to credit Nuno going in, a really good start, a new beginning for him, these players, the likes of Dele Alli, almost reborn, because there's a manager showing belief in them and they're moving forward. And Harry will be keeping an eye on that. It's not so terrible for Harry that they could go top here today and he could be the man that scores the goals. So it's been a tough time for him because he tried to wriggle out, but he's a Spurs player in his heart. He'll always be a Spurs player, so there'll be no issues with him today.
Well,
strangely enough, sorry, Michelle, I had a situation, draw some sort of parallels with it. I had a situation when I was manager of Aston Villa that Gareth Barry, who had been there at Aston Villa probably the same length of time that Harry Kane has been at Tottenham and became an iconic figure, wanted to go to Liverpool. Liverpool had made a particular bid. We didn't think that the offer was enough at that particular time. There was a bit of a standoff. But Gareth made it very, very clear that this is where he wanted to go to Liverpool. And we said, well, listen, if they can match the particular price, then you can go. Liverpool didn't go on with it. Obviously, there was great disappointment. Some fans reacted in the same way as you've just mentioned yourself about fans talking about Harry Kane, a bit of betrayal. But in fairness, it settled down, and the next year became one of Gareth Barry's best ever years at Aston Villa, and he had quite a number of really good years. So everything settled down. He still retained that iconic status that he had there at Villa Park, and he left to go to Manchester City the following year, and went on and didn't do too badly there. You know, absolutely did brilliantly, and then finished his career Everton and West Bromwich Albion. So there were some sort of parallels. I think things will settle down, and Harry Kane will probably repay them by scoring the goals that he should do.